The shimmering oval ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, its metallic skin reflecting the morning sun. Inside, Zixlar gripped the edge of the command console with 3 of his 6 limbs. The ship's environmental systems had been adjusted to match Earth conditions, and the heavy gravity made his body ache. The oxygen levels were nearly toxic to his species, and the temperature felt uncomfortably warm. "Final approach to the human landing zone," announced the pilot, another Vexal, like himself but younger and more adaptable to harsh conditions. "The natives are waiting." Zixlar nodded, his translucent head membrane pulsing with nervous energy. As the senior diplomat of the Galactic Council, he had overseen first contact with 17 different species. None had made him as uneasy as these humans. "Remember the protocols," he told his team of 8 representatives from various council species. "No sudden movements. Their nervous systems are highly tuned to detect predators. A legacy of evolving on this place." The ship touched, down on a concrete landing pad in the Nevada desert. Through the viewscreen, Zixlar saw a small group of humans waiting. They stood still despite the hot wind whipping around them. Such endurance in uncomfortable conditions was precisely what made them concerning. The landing ramp extended with a soft hiss. Zixlar led his team out into the brutal Earth sunlight. His protective skin coating activated immediately, and he felt the unpleasant tingle of radiation on his exposed parts. A human female stepped forward. She wore a dark uniform with symbols of rank. Next to her stood a male in what appeared to be formal civilian clothes. "Welcome to Earth," said the woman. "I'm Major Samantha Reed, United Nations Defense Force. This is Dr. Alan Wright, head of NASA's Exobiology Department." Zixlar's translator implant converted her sound vibrations into comprehensible meaning. He performed the universal greeting gesture, pressing his primary limbs together. "I am Zixlar, senior diplomat of the Galactic Council. We bring greetings from 342 sentient species." Dr. Wright stepped forward, his face forming what Zixlar recognized from the briefings as a smile. "We have many questions for you, as I'm sure you have for us." The human facility was simple, but functional. As they walked through climate-controlled hallways, Zixlar noticed the other council members struggling with Earth's conditions. Tralvek, the methane-breathing Pologar representative, looked especially uncomfortable in his environmental suit. In a large conference room, both groups sat facing each other. Humans offered water and something they called coffee, which Zixlar politely declined after his sensors indicated it contained nerve stimulants. "We've studied your initial transmissions," said Dr. Wright. "Your council has explored much of the galaxy. We're eager to join this community." Zixlar hesitated before responding. "Your world is unusual. Our records show few sentient species evolve on planets with such extreme conditions." Major Reed leaned forward. "Extreme? This seems pretty normal to us. Your gravity is 1.3 times the galactic average for homeworlds. Your oxygen levels are considered toxic by 60% of council species. Your temperature variations between seasons would kill most spacefaring life forms. And your planet's biological diversity." Zixlar paused, searching for diplomatic phrasing, "is unusually aggressive." "You mean our predators?" asked Dr. Wright, looking fascinated rather than concerned. "Your entire ecosystem exists in a state of constant biological warfare," said Krila, the Council's chief biologist. "Even your smallest life forms, your microbes, are remarkably hostile." The humans exchanged glances that Zixlar couldn't interpret. "We call it evolution," said Major Reed. "It's how we got where we are." Later, after formal protocols were completed and initial agreements made, Zixlar returned to the ship alone. He sealed himself in his private chamber and activated the secure communication system. "Priority message to Council High Command," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "First contact with humans successful, but I must report grave concerns. This species evolved naturally on what can only be classified as a death world. They consider lethal conditions normal. Their biology has been shaped by constant survival pressure unknown to most council races." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "Most concerning of all," they show no fear of the greater galaxy. Instead, they seem eager to expand into it. There is something fundamentally wrong with this species. They are survivors of a planetary crucible we can barely comprehend. Recommend immediate containment protocols and extensive study before permitting unrestricted travel. Zixlar, Senior Diplomat, end transmission. As the message beamed toward distant council space, Zixlar looked out at the harsh Earth landscape. Something moved in the distance, a predatory bird circling on air currents. Even Earth's skies were filled with hunters. Image description: A tall alien diplomat with 6 limbs and translucent skin membrane observes Earth from a spaceship window. The alien looks concerned while watching a desert landscape where a small welcoming committee of humans stands near a landing pad. The contrast between the fragile-looking alien and the harsh Earth environment is stark and dramatic. 15 years had passed since first contact. Humans now walked the halls of the Grand Galactic Archive, a massive space station orbiting a neutral star. Most aliens still kept their distance from humans, watching with a mixture of fear and fascination. Greg Martinez sat hunched over his workstation in a quiet corner of the biological records section. As a junior analyst for the archive, his job involved sorting and cataloging information from across the galaxy. The work was usually boring, but not today. "This can't be right," he muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. The screen in front of him showed genetic patterns from a deadly fungal outbreak on Near 7, a farming colony 12 light-years from Earth. Greg had been tracking biological threats for a personal research project. He wasn't supposed to access these classified files, but his supervisor often left her security credentials active. The door slid open. Greg quickly switched his screen to show routine archive work. "Still here, Martinez?" Linda Porter stood in the doorway, her gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. "It's past Earth Standard midnight." "Just finishing up some cross-references," Greg said, trying to sound casual. Linda walked closer, glancing at his screen. "Interesting choice of files." Greg's heart raced. "I was just noticing patterns." Linda finished for him. She lowered her voice. "I saw the same thing 3 years ago, kept my mouth shut. Suggest you do the same." She placed a data chip on his desk. "But if you're too stubborn to drop it, talk to her. Off station, no electronic devices." Linda walked away, calling over her shoulder, "And log out when you're done." The chip contained a single name and location: Dr. Olivia Mills, Xenobiology. Research Center, Europa Colony. 2 weeks later, Greg sat in a small cafe on Europa, Jupiter's icy moon. The dome overhead showed the massive gas giant filling half the sky. A woman approached his table. "You're Martinez?" she asked quietly. Greg nodded. Dr. Mills was younger than he expected, maybe mid-30s, with short brown hair and alert eyes that missed nothing. "Linda said you found patterns in outbreak data," Olivia said, sitting down. "Show me." Greg slid his handwritten notes across the table. Every major biological threat in the past decade: the Near 7 fungus, the nerve parasite on Vega Prime, the protein-dissolving bacteria in the Centauri system. All of them have genetic markers that trace back to Earth. Olivia studied his notes and nodded slowly. "I've found the same connections. Earth-based DNA, modified and adapted but definitely terrestrial in origin." "Is someone using Earth organisms as bioweapons?" Greg asked. "Maybe. Or maybe there's something more fundamental happening." Olivia leaned forward. "Earth evolved life in extremely harsh conditions compared to most habitable planets. Our organisms are the evolutionary equivalent of hardened soldiers, while most galactic life forms are like civilians." Greg frowned. "But these outbreaks are killing millions, billions in some cases." "Exactly. And each time humans offer help, vaccines, treatments, showing how valuable we are to the galactic community." Olivia tapped his notes. "Yet the Council keeps restricting human expansion, limiting our colony worlds, requiring extreme quarantine protocols for Earth ships." "You think the Council knows Earth is the source?" "I think some powerful members 2. The question is whether these outbreaks are accidental contamination or deliberate attacks, and who benefits either way. Greg felt someone watching them. He casually looked around the cafe. Near the entrance, a tall figure in a hooded cloak stood motionless, face hidden. "We're being watched," he whispered. Olivia didn't turn around. "That's Kralvor, Council Security. Been following me for weeks." She gathered his notes and slipped them into her pocket. "Meet me tomorrow at the research center. I have samples you should see." She stood up casually and walked out. The hooded figure waited a moment, then followed. Greg stared at his half-finished coffee. What had seemed like an interesting data anomaly now felt dangerous. The cafe's large windows suddenly made him feel exposed. Beyond the domed ceiling, Jupiter's great red spot stared down like a watchful eye. Someone knew what they were uncovering. Someone powerful enough to have Council Security follow them. And Greg couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow's meeting might be a trap. Image description. A human analyst and a female scientist sit at a... Catherine Daniels straightened her formal diplomatic uniform as she walked into the great chamber of the Galactic Council. 15 years after first contact, she now served as Earth's ambassador. Today she faced her greatest challenge yet. The chamber was a vast dome with seats for representatives of over 300 species. Most of those seats were filled today. News of the emergency session had spread quickly. Ambassador Daniels greeted the council speaker, a floating gas-filled being named Zor. "Please take your place." Catherine nodded and moved to the human seat, aware of the many eyes watching her, some with pity, others with barely hidden hostility. "This council is now in session," Zor announced. "We address Proposal 7722, complete quarantine of Earth and all human colonies." Murmurs filled the chamber. Catherine kept her face neutral despite her shock. She had expected restrictions, but not this. A tall insectoid being rose from the front row. Trollocs, representative of the hive worlds, known for his anti-human views. "Honored Council," Trollocs began, mandibles clicking. "I present evidence that 87% of new biological threats in our galaxy originated from Earth. This is not speculation, but fact." Holographic images appeared above the chamber floor, maps showing disease outbreaks, genetic sequences, death counts, in the billions. "The squirrel plague that devastated my people began with Earth bacteria," said a representative from a water world. 3 billion squirrel died. "The flesh rot of the Pelgan system," added another voice. "Traced to modified Earth fungi." More accusations followed. Catherine felt the weight of each one. When the voices finally quieted, she stood. "Earth deeply regrets any suffering caused by organisms from our world," she said carefully. "But there is no evidence these outbreaks were intentional." Trelix's compound eyes fixed on her. "Intent is irrelevant, Ambassador. Your species itself is the threat." He activated another hologram showing human expansion over 15 years. Humans adapt too quickly. They breed too rapidly. They survive conditions that would kill most sentient life. Trellix looked around the chamber. "They are an invasive species, and like all invasive species, they must be contained before they overwhelm native ecosystems." Catherine fought to keep her voice steady. "We have followed every protocol established for interspecies contact. Yet somehow, Earth organisms keep spreading," Trellix countered. "Perhaps your protocols are insufficient for a Deathworld species." After hours of debate, the council called for a vote. Catherine stepped outside while they deliberated. Her communication device signaled a message from Paul Martinez, a military intelligence officer and brother of Greg Martinez. She had asked him to investigate the outbreak patterns weeks ago. "Found something," his message read. "These outbreaks aren't random. Someone is selecting Earth organisms specifically suited to target certain species. This is engineered, not accidental contamination." Catherine's heart raced. If true, this meant someone was framing humanity. But who would benefit from human quarantine? She rushed back into the chamber as voting concluded. The speaker was announcing results. By a margin of 4 votes, Proposal 7722 is rejected. Relief washed over Catherine, but it was short-lived. However, continued Zor, the Council approves amended Proposal 7723. All human ships must undergo enhanced biohazard protocols. Human expansion is limited to current colonies. Any future biological incident traced to Earth will trigger immediate full quarantine. As the session ended, Catherine noticed Tralaix in deep conversation with representatives from several powerful worlds. They didn't look disappointed by the outcome. They looked patient, as if this was merely one step in a longer plan. Outside the chamber, she encrypted a message to Paul. Need to meet in person. Bring all evidence. Someone is setting up humanity, and they nearly succeeded today. Next time, we might not win the vote. She looked back at the council chamber. The trap was closing around humanity. Someone wanted Earth isolated from the galaxy, and Catherine suspected they wouldn't stop at quarantine. Image description. A human female diplomat in a formal blue uniform stands alone at a podium facing a vast alien council chamber. The dramatic circular room shows hundreds of diverse alien species in tiered seating. Holographic red outbreak maps float in the air above the central floor. In the foreground, a tall insectoid alien with compound eyes points accusingly toward the human ambassador. The lighting creates a tense atmosphere of confrontation and judgment. John Hayes walked through his wheat fields on New Montana, a human, colony world 20 light-years from Earth. The morning sun warmed his back as he studied the ground with growing concern. The plants were dying in strange patterns, perfect circles that grew larger each day. This was the third such pattern he'd found this month. "Dad, come look at this," his 14-year-old daughter Emma called from the edge of the field. She knelt beside another dead patch, this one forming a perfect hexagon. John jogged over, the dry soil crunching beneath his boots. "Don't touch it," he warned. "I didn't," Emma said. "But look. The soil inside the pattern is different." She pointed to the darkened earth. John crouched down. The soil within the pattern had a slick, almost oily appearance. "We should call Bill. Clark. His farm had similar patterns last week." Back at the house, John tried to reach his neighbor on the comm system. No answer. He tried again that afternoon and evening. Still nothing. "That's not like Bill," John told his daughter as they ate dinner. "I'm going to check on him tomorrow." After dropping Emma at school the next morning, John drove his Rover to the Clark farm. The house stood quiet. No one answered his calls. The field showed the same strange death patterns but much larger, consuming nearly the entire crop. Inside Bill's barn, John found the man's Rover. A thin layer of dust covered the vehicle. On the workbench lay Bill's comm unit. John activated it and found a recorded message addressed to the Colonial Authority. "Something's hunting in my fields," Bill's voice said. "It comes at night, moves like nothing I've ever seen. I found tracks heading toward the forest. Going to investigate. If you find this message..." The recording ended abruptly. John immediately reported his neighbor's disappearance to the Colonial Security Office. 3 days later, a ship arrived from the Central Colony. To John's surprise, it carried not only human officials, but also an alien scientist, a Zelnagan named Dr. Vrax. "You reported unusual crop death patterns?" Dr. Vrax asked as they stood in John's fields. The alien's translucent blue skin rippled with what John recognized as anxiety. "Yes. And my neighbor disappeared after finding similar patterns." Dr. Vrax studied the patterns silently, then turned to the human officials. "Show him," he said. "He needs to know." The lead official, Officer Peterson, looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Hayes, we've been tracking something across several human colonies. A new species. We believe it may be connected to your neighbor's disappearance." "What kind of species?" John asked. Officer Peterson activated a holographic projector. The image showed a sleek, dark creature with multiple limbs and what appeared to be bony plates covering vital areas. "We call it the Hunter. This footage was captured on Archer's World before it killed 3 colonists. This is classified information," Dr. Vrax added. "This creature has appeared on 12 human-settled worlds in the past 6 months. Always the same pattern. Crop failures in geometric shapes followed by disappearances, then direct attacks. What is it? John asked, staring at the hologram. Dr. Vrax's skin color darkened. That's what troubles us. Genetic analysis shows impossible results. It shares DNA with Earth species, wolves, great cats, even some reptilian markers, but it has evolved at an accelerated rate. As if what? John pressed. As if it was designed specifically to hunt humans, Peterson finished. It targets only Earth-origin life forms. Humans, livestock, crops. There's more, Dr. Vrax said quietly. The hunter is learning. Each new generation shows greater intelligence. The latest specimens have begun using simple tools. John thought of Emma at school. My daughter. We've posted security at all public buildings, Peterson assured him. But we need your help. You know this land. We need to find this thing before it finds more victims. That night, as a security team patrolled the perimeter of his property, John checked on Emma in her bedroom. She was sleeping peacefully. As he turned to leave, movement outside the window caught his eye. Something large moved in the shadows near the barn. Dad? Emma sat up in bed, suddenly awake. What's wrong? Before John could answer, Emma's eyes widened as she looked past him toward the window. Dad, she whispered. There's something out. There. I can see its eyes. They're red. Image description. A worried human farmer kneels at the edge of a wheat field examining a perfect geometric pattern of dead crops. The soil inside the pattern appears dark and oily. In the background stands a farmhouse and barn. At the edge of the field where it meets the forest, partially hidden in shadows, a pair of glowing red eyes can be seen watching. The scene is lit by a setting sun casting long shadows across the farm landscape, creating an ominous atmosphere of lurking danger. Olivia Mills and Greg Martinez stood before the massive ice dome of the Europa Research Facility. Jupiter's swirling storms filled the sky above them. After months of investigation, they had finally found a lead pointing to this location. Are you sure about this? Greg asked, adjusting his thermal suit. If we're caught? A little late for second thoughts, Olivia replied. She checked her fake ID badge. Besides, we have help on the inside. That help came in the form of Lisa Wright, daughter of Dr. Alan Wright, who had been present at humanity's first contact. Now a senior researcher with level 5 clearance, Lisa had contacted them after finding disturbing files in the facility's secure database. They passed through 3 security checkpoints using the IDs Lisa had provided. At the 4th and final checkpoint, Lisa herself met them. You made it, she said quietly. Follow me, we don't have much time. Lisa led them through sterile white corridors to a small office. She locked the door and activated a device that scrambled listening equipment. What I'm about to show you is classified beyond anything you've seen, Lisa said. If anyone discovers you were here, we'll all face treason charges. She activated a hidden panel in the wall, revealing a private elevator. This goes to sub-level 12. It officially doesn't exist. The elevator descended silently for nearly a minute before stopping. The doors opened to reveal a vast underground chamber filled with row after row of ancient-looking equipment. The technology appeared decades, perhaps centuries older than anything in current use. What is this place? Greg whispered. Project Genesis, Lisa answered. Started in 2047, almost 400 years before first contact. Olivia froze. That's impossible. Humans didn't have space travel capability then. Not officially. Lisa led them to a central console and activated it. A holographic display appeared, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy with thousands of tiny points of light. Each light represents a probe, Lisa explained. Launched in secret over centuries. Their mission was simple. Seed Earth-based microorganisms throughout the galaxy to make alien worlds more habitable for future human expansion. Greg stared in shock. You mean we've been contaminating alien worlds for centuries? Terraforming. Them, corrected a deep voice from behind. They turned to see an older man in a lab coat. His security badge identified him as Dr. Frank Russell, Director of Special Projects. How did you? Lisa began. Security alerted me when you accessed this level, Dr. Wright, Russell said calmly. I've been waiting for someone to discover our work. In a way, I'm relieved. Do you realize what you've done? Olivia demanded. Trillions of alien lives lost to diseases from Earth. Russell's expression hardened. We did what was necessary to ensure humanity's survival. The galaxy is hostile territory. We needed footholds. The Council suspects, Greg said. They're already restricting human expansion. A minor setback, Russell replied. Project Genesis is too far advanced to stop now. The seeds have been planted. Earth life will spread no matter what the Council decides. The Galactic Council will quarantine Earth completely when they learn the truth, Lisa warned. Russell smiled thinly. The Council has existed for 50,000 years? Impressive but short-sighted. Genesis has been operating for nearly 4 centuries. We think in longer terms. 4 centuries? Olivia repeated. That's not possible. Human spaceflight only began in the 20th century. Official human spaceflight, Russell corrected. There's much about Earth's history you don't know. He walked to a secure door at the far end of the room. You wanted the truth? Come see the full scope of Project Genesis. The door slid open. Beyond it lay a massive hangar containing what appeared to be ancient spacecraft of non-human design. We found this ship in Antarctica in 1938, Russell said. Reverse engineered, its technology. By 2047, we were ready to launch the first Genesis probes. Alien technology, Greg whispered in shock. We've had it all along. Not alien, Russell said. The ship was human-built, just not from our time. The pilot's log indicated it came from approximately 15,000 years in our future. He smiled at their stunned expressions. Project Genesis is far more complex than simple biological seeding. We're not just adapting the galaxy to humanity. We're fulfilling a time loop that ensures humanity's dominant position. Olivia felt the foundation of everything she believed crumbling beneath her feet. How many people know about this? Very few, Russell admitted. And now you 3. Which means we have much to discuss about your futures. Image description. 3 human figures in laboratory attire stand in awe before a massive underground facility filled with rows of ancient-looking, technological equipment. In the foreground, holographic displays show a 3D map of the galaxy with thousands of glowing points representing probes. In the background, partially visible through an open massive door, sits the shadowy outline of what appears to be an ancient spacecraft. The lighting is dramatic, with blue holographic light illuminating shocked expressions on the humans' faces as they confront the truth of Project Genesis. The underground facility has a retro-futuristic design mixing very old technology with advanced systems. The hunter species had spread to 20 human worlds in just 6 months. John Hayes now found himself part of a specialized response team, led by Commander Susan Blake, a veteran of Earth's space forces. John had sent Emma to stay with relatives in the central colony city, where security was stronger. These tracks are fresh, John said, kneeling beside an impression in the soft forest floor. No more than 3 hours old. Commander Blake nodded. Her team of 6 soldiers spread out in a defensive formation. Dr. Vrax, the alien xenobiologist, hurried to examine the tracks. Fascinating, he muttered, his translucent skin pulsing with excitement despite the danger. The foot structure has evolved again. See how the claws have lengthened, and these extra toe pads would improve traction. It's evolving that quickly? Blake asked, concerned. Unlike anything I've ever documented, Vrax confirmed. This is the 5th distinct variation I've observed in just weeks. Normal evolution takes thousands of years for such changes. John pointed deeper into the forest. It was heading toward the river valley. There's an abandoned mining outpost there. Blake activated her tactical display. Perfect place for it to nest. Let's move. As they approached the outpost, they found more disturbing signs. Dead Earth origin plants surrounded the area. Native New Montana flora remained untouched. It's not just killing for food, Vrax observed. It's systematically destroying Earth origin ecosystems. Inside the main outpost building, they found evidence of intelligent activity. Bones from local wildlife had been arranged in patterns. Tools made from scavenged mining equipment lay scattered around. "It's not just hunting," Blake whispered. "It's building things." A soldier named Carter examined a crude spear fashioned from metal piping. This wasn't made by animal instinct. Vrax used a portable scanner on the bone arrangements. These aren't random. They're mathematical sequences, prime numbers. His voice shook. "This creature is developing sentience." "How is that possible?" John asked. "I've completed the full genetic analysis," Vrax said. "The results are troubling." He activated a holographic display showing DNA sequences. The hunter isn't a natural species, it's engineered. A composite of Earth predators with specific modifications. "Someone made this thing?" Blake demanded. "Not just made it. Designed it specifically to target Earth origin life forms." Vrax pointed to specific genetic markers. "These sequences allow it to detect human cellular structures. These govern its accelerated evolution. And these..." He paused. "These appear to be driving its rapid intelligence development." "Who would create something like this?" John asked. "The coding signature matches known work from a consortium calling themselves the Preservers," Vrax admitted reluctantly. "A radical movement of several species who believe Earth life represents a galaxy-wide threat." Blake's communicator beeped with an emergency signal. "Multiple hunter sightings near the central colony," reported a panicked voice. "They're working together. Coordinated attacks. We need immediate..." The transmission cut off with a burst of static. "Emma's there," John said, his face pale with fear. A crashing sound from outside interrupted them. Blake signaled 2 soldiers to investigate. They moved cautiously toward the door. The wall exploded inward. A dark shape larger than a man burst through. 2 more crashed through windows. The hunters moved with terrifying speed. "Open fire," Blake ordered. Weapons flashed. 1 hunter fell, then another. But they had clearly evolved since earlier encounters. Armored plates deflected some shots. They moved with unnatural coordination. Carter screamed as a hunter seized him, dragging him into the shadows. 2 more soldiers fell. Blake fired repeatedly at a hunter leaping toward her. It crashed to the floor at her feet. "Fall back," she shouted. John grabbed Vrax and pulled him toward the rear exit. Blake covered their retreat, but a hunter slashed her leg as she moved. She stumbled, but kept firing. Outside, John saw more shapes moving in the trees. "They're surrounding us!" This direction, Vrax pointed toward a narrow ravine. "Quickly!" They ran, half carrying the injured Blake. Behind them, the remaining hunters gathered around their fallen pack members. Instead of continuing the pursuit, they began collecting their dead. "They're recovering their casualties," Blake said in disbelief as they watched for. Catherine Daniels and Paul Martinez stepped carefully through the ancient ruins. Their breath frosted in the cold air of this dead world near the galactic core. Above them, 3 pale suns gave barely enough light to see by. The planet had no name, only a designation, XC2197. "These ruins are at least 4 million years old," Paul said, checking his scanner. "Older than any known civilization in Council records." Catherine nodded, her expression grim. After the near quarantine of Earth, she had convinced the Council to let her investigate the origins of the biological attacks. Her diplomatic status had opened doors, but it was Paul's military intelligence connections that had led them here. "The data patterns pointed to this location," she said. "Whatever civilization built this place, they knew something about Earth." They entered what appeared to be a vast archive chamber. Dust-covered consoles lined the walls. In the center stood a pedestal with a crystalline structure that might have been a data storage device. Paul activated his universal translator device and placed it on the crystal. "Let's hope some of the data survived." The crystal glowed faintly. Holographic symbols appeared above it, flowing and changing as the translator worked. "It's responding," Catherine whispered. "After all this time." Slowly, the symbols transformed into recognizable text. Star charts appeared, showing a spiral galaxy, the Milky Way. One star system was marked repeatedly. "That's our solar system," Paul confirmed. "Sol, Earth." More images appeared, a blue-green planet teeming with life, oceans, forests. But then the images changed. They showed massive predators, microscopic organisms attacking larger ones, plants with defensive toxins, the relentless cycle of Earth's evolution. They were studying Earth, Catherine realized, millions of years ago. The next series of images chilled them both. They showed the ancient alien visitors approaching Earth, landing, taking samples, then fleeing in apparent panic as their sampling team was attacked by what looked like primitive Earth predators. Text scrolled across the display. The translator struggled with the ancient language, but certain phrases came through clearly. World of nightmares. Evolutionary pressure unlike any known. Life forms attack, consume, adapt. Warn future generations. Dangerous beyond measure. They were afraid of Earth, Paul said softly. Millions of years before humans even evolved. The final sequence showed a deliberate plan. The aliens calculated a trajectory, then launched something massive toward Earth's solar system. "That's an asteroid," Catherine said in horror. "They tried to sterilize Earth." The KT extinction event, Paul realized. The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. It wasn't natural. It was a deliberate attempt at genocide. Catherine stared at the coordinates displayed at the end of the sequence. "But that's not all. Look at these stellar coordinates." Paul checked them against galactic maps. These mark locations of other species that attempted similar strikes against Earth. Different methods. "The Toba catastrophe," Catherine said, recognizing another set of coordinates. "The event that nearly wiped out early humans 75,000 years ago. Another deliberate attack. Earth has been targeted for extinction multiple times throughout its history," Paul said, his voice hollow with shock. "By different civilizations across millions of years. And each time, life on Earth survived," Catherine added, "adapted, became stronger." A final image appeared, a warning left by the ancient aliens, to any who might find their records. It showed Earth surrounded by a danger symbol, with text the translator rendered as, "Quarantine at all costs. If life from this world spreads, it will consume everything." Paul looked at Catherine. These ancient aliens tried to kill Earth life before it could reach the stars. The preservers are trying to do the same thing now with the hunter species. "We need to warn Earth," Catherine said. "If the preservers have continued the work these ancients started..." "It might be worse than that," Paul interrupted, studying the final data screens. "These readings suggest the ancients built a weapon. A last resort if the asteroid failed. What kind of weapon? A planet killer." Paul's face was grim, and according to these coordinates, it's still out there, waiting to be activated. As they hurried back to their ship, Catherine thought about all the pieces finally falling into place. The Council's fear of Earth, the biological attacks, the hunter species, all part of an ancient conflict that began before humans even existed. "Earth hasn't just been fighting for survival in the galaxy," she told Paul as they prepared for launch. "It's been doing it for millions of years." Image description. 2 human explorers in environmental suits stand in a vast, ancient alien archive chamber. Crystal data storage devices glow with blue light, projecting holographic images that show Earth surrounded by warning symbols. 3 pale suns can be seen through a window in the background, illuminating dust particles floating in the air. In the center of the room, a large holographic display shows a sequence of images. Dinosaurs being wiped out by an asteroid impact, early humans facing extinction, and finally a massive weapon aimed at Earth. The ruins have an otherworldly architecture, with impossible angles, showing advanced technology despite being millions of years old. The faces of the explorers show shock and horror as they discover Earth's true history. The neutral space station Harmony floated in empty space between Earth and Centauri territories. Built specifically for this meeting, it represented humanity's last hope for peace. Catherine Daniels stood on one side of the circular chamber. Around her gathered representatives from Earth and its colonies, Greg and Paul Martinez, Dr. Olivia Mills, Lisa Wright, John Hayes and his daughter Emma, Commander Susan Blake still walking with a limp from her hunter encounter, and Dr. Vrax, who had chosen to support the human cause. Across from them stood the Galactic Council delegation led by the speaker Zor. Among them was Tralix, the insectoid representative who had pushed for Earth's quarantine. And in the third section stood 5 hooded figures, representatives of the secretive group calling themselves the Preservers. This was the first time they had ever appeared publicly. "This emergency summit will now begin," announced Zor, floating gently above the central podium. "We face a crisis that threatens galactic peace." Catherine stepped forward first. "Honored representatives, we have discovered the truth behind the biological attacks attributed to Earth. Project Genesis was real, but its intent was never conquest." She gestured to Lisa Wright, who activated holographic evidence collected from Europa. "Earth used ancient technology to seed microbial life across the galaxy," Catherine continued. "Not as weapons, but because early survey data showed the galaxy was nearly devoid of life. The project aimed to create a more habitable galaxy for all species." Angry murmurs rose from the Preservers. Their leader stepped forward, lowering his hood to reveal a reptilian face with 4 eyes. "Lies," he hissed. "We have protected the galaxy for millions of years. We know the truth about Earth, the Deathworld. Its life is a plague that must be contained." Catherine nodded to Paul, who activated the data they had recovered from the ancient ruins. "The truth is older than any of us realized," Catherine said. "Earth was targeted for extinction multiple times throughout its history by different civilizations. They feared Earth life because it evolved under extreme conditions. The holographic display showed the asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs, the Toba catastrophe that nearly wiped out early humans, and other extinction events, all deliberate attacks. Each time, Earth life adapted and survived." Catherine continued. "It made our planet's evolutionary patterns unique. Yes, Earth organisms can be dangerous when introduced to unprepared environments, but that same adaptability offers solutions to problems across the galaxy." Greg stepped forward with Olivia. "We've documented hundreds of cases where Earth organisms have healed dying ecosystems on other worlds. Earth plants that extract toxins from soil, Earth bacteria that break down pollutants." Dr. Vrax moved to the center of the chamber. "As a council scientist, I can confirm this data. The hunter species was engineered by the Preservers using Earth DNA, creating a predator designed to destroy all Earth-origin life, including humans. They have activated an ancient weapon system that could destroy Earth completely. The reptilian." Preserver hissed again. "Better one world dies than the entire galaxy falls to Earth's evolutionary chaos. You cannot stop what we have set in motion." John Hayes stepped forward then, with Emma beside him. "I'm a simple farmer," he said. "Not a scientist or diplomat, but I've seen the hunter up close. It was created to kill us, but something unexpected happened. It's evolving toward intelligence, toward understanding. The hunter is becoming a bridge species," Dr. Vrax explained. "Part Earth, part galactic. It proves that even in conflict, Earth's evolutionary patterns tend toward creation, not just destruction." Commander Blake activated the final hologram, footage from New Montana showing hunters approaching human settlements, not to attack, but to observe, to learn. "We propose a new path forward," Catherine said. "Earth will share its biological expertise to help contain damage from previous contamination. The Council will help us neutralize the hunter on worlds where it threatens colonists. And, together, we will deactivate the ancient weapon targeting Earth." She looked directly at the Preservers. "This galaxy is large enough for all of us, even those